Hi, everybody. I've got Bente with me. If you don't know them, they are the Norse witch. If you don't know them, I don't know what you're doing. You're living under a rock. I feel like you need to definitely check out their channel and all of their social media platforms if you have yet to. But we're just gonna have like a cozy chat where we hang out and talk about winter activities, winter practices, different kind of magic that bases around the cold and the dark time of year, and also talk about our travel plans, hopefully for next year, because both of us want to do this like traveling thing where both of us go out and either go to like Iceland or Scotland, Ireland, Norway, somewhere in that general vicinity. And hopefully a bunch of you will join us, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in depth um later on. So stay tuned. But yeah, Bente, if people don't know you, do you want to give like a little bit of a quick introduction and then we'll just dive into some of the winter
Yeah,
stuff?
of course. So yeah, I am the Norse witch, Bente. On YouTube and on Instagram, I was previously on TikTok, but I left TikTok because TikTok fucking sucks. Um, um, yeah, I am I always struggle with finding labels for myself. So I would call myself a witch, but my practice is like mainly inspired by pre-Christian Scandinavian practices as well as Scandinavian folk magic. So it's kind of a mashup of everything, but I also do like normal modern witchcraft stuff. I don't want to stop my candle spells, even though they're not really a thing in Scandinavian stuff. I like my candles. Okay. I guess that's me. Oh, and I'm a heathen. I don't know if that's not obvious already.
No, I think that's great to like just clarify just in case people
Yeah.
are curious.
Just in
Um
case people are living under a rock.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so winter for me specifically is very like based around rest and based around like I think a lot of us do like spells and prayers or incantations, rituals, things like that. And a lot of it is speaking to spirit, but there's not a lot of emphasis on like listening to spirits. And so
Mm,
I think like especially during the fall or especially during the winter when everything kind of like quiets down, I feel like winter is specifically set for listening and less for speaking. Like it's now your time to stop talking and start listening to what, the universe or spirits or your ancestors or whatever you believe in talk to you, and what they kind of have to say because there's not really all these other distractions to be in your ear. Around this time of year, whether that's in your whether you're during winter for you for like, well, I guess us during northern hemisphere and then southern hemisphere. But either way, the quiet time of the year I think is time for listening. And that's usually where my practice tends to like completely take a huge shift, at least for me. Do you have that
yeah,
also?
same. But I think the thing about listening instead of speaking is very interesting. I've never really thought about that. I definitely agree that like winter is like the quiet time, and both my general life but also my practice just get more like, it feels like it gets more introverted and more just like I tend to go more inward than I go outward, but I've never thought about that communication wise, but that definitely makes a whole lot of sense. Because for me, it's like, I mean, okay, I also communicate a lot and try to listen a lot during summer and spring, but it's kind of like I'm so much more active and more outside and more communicating and communing in general with like local spirits and plant spirits and everything that's outside basically that's very active during spring and summer. But then come winter and fall, it's more like your ancestors and maybe like deities, because of course, like I am a heathen and I am religious and I work with the Norse gods and goddesses. So there's like specific gods and goddesses that to me are more active during winter. So I mean, it definitely makes sense if you have like a fertility god or a fertility goddess, they won't be as active during winter when nothing is growing. So
Yes.
um
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, I also think like to put it into, I guess, better metaphor is when you're during spring and summer for me, it's a lot of like communication, it's a conversation, it's back and forth. Whereas during more fall and winter specifically, it's more of a lecture. Like I'm sitting and listening and taking notes, and then whatever I'm listening to is kind of like going off on this whole tangent, and I'm just trying to understand what they're saying. Um, as well as like I think you made an interesting point of like there's different spirits, there's different deities that are a little more active during this time. And I mean, I think that's huge, which is why local practices make such a big difference. Because if I'm practicing in somewhere like, I mean, if you're from the US, like either New Mexico or Texas or California, like where you don't get snow, right? Like there's not this like complete silence around you. The spirits act different. Like it's just the culture is different spiritually. And so I really missed being in Colorado, and I'm really happy to be back because like now with the winter spirits around me, like it just I don't know, there's something about them that is very like non-human. Not that like all the other spirits are not, but I just feel like they almost connect more with humanity, whereas like the winter spirits almost feel like so far on the spirit side and they're not very connected to the human side. And I think that's why I love it so much is because there's like this vast difference of knowledge and culture and understanding of like existence in general of me as having a human experience and them having this winter spirit experience where they're not connected to humanity. Did
I
any of
think
that
it's
make sense?
definitely, and I think it's very interesting that you mention summer and spring spirits being kind of more human-esque than the winter spirits. Because if we look at, for example, more Scandinavian practices and more Scandinavian kinds of spirits, then what I feel like always is that during spring and summer you have like the typical nature spirits, like the elves that are hopping around. I don't know. Of course, they're not all like nice little fae with like fairy wings and stuff. They are also threatening, but like during winter you have this very clear cut thing of like during spring and summer you have the elves, and during the dark times you have the trolls that are very much more threatening and dangerous, which elves of course can also be dangerous, but trolls have a much more negative association to them. So they are very different, and they definitely are less prone to like work with humans. So they're not necessarily like elves aren't necessarily more human than trolls are, but they are more, yeah, they're more open to working with you than trolls would be.
Well, I agree with that with the spirits here. I mean, like I don't really work anywhere close with like fae. Maybe I do, but just not in that sense. Um but yeah, the winter spirits, at least the nature winter spirits here are they don't fuck around. Like they do not fuck around with you. So disrespectful to make any mistake. Even if it's like, you truly didn't mean to make a mistake. If you make a mistake, they are like, what? They're disgusted with you. And it's very much like it's not this warm like, you know, that's dumb. It's whatever. You're just a dumb human. Like that's not the way that they treat you. It's very much like you should know better. And they're
Mm,
they're
yeah.
very cut and dry with things like that and with like with any kind of rituals or spells that you try to do. So but at the same time like I kind of like that. Like I kind of like the fact they're so aggressive about it because you learn so much faster in that sense. I mean, you're not going to make that mistake ever again. Like you're not ever going to make that mistake again with them or with any other spirits. Like you kind of learn a lot faster with that. But I'd like to know because I mean, you and I are in very different places in the world. You're in Germany, right? And then I'm in the US. And we both have the four seasons. We're both in the northern hemisphere. However, I know that your winter practice is going to be very different from mine. So let's say that we're late fall and we're just starting to shift into winter. What kind of things do you start to do to like prep for your practice, to like prep for this winter, the spirit, the energy? Like what kind of things are your first to-do lists in your occult like list?
I think for me, one of the first things that I always notice, because like I'm not a person necessarily that makes like to-do lists for like workings or has like a set thing of I'm always doing this in fall. So I'm always working very intuitively, but I like the longer I practice, the more I see that it's always basically the same things around the same time. So the first thing that I see that will probably be something that most people will agree with, that as soon as it hits mid to late fall, I will start like communing much more with my ancestors. Um, that's just that's just a typical thing. I mean, I don't know how it is where you live, but around here we don't really have like a lot of daylight. I mean, the sun maybe comes up at like 9-ish or something and sets at around 3:30 or 4 p.m. So we don't really have a lot of daylight during winter. So of course you don't really go out anymore. So like in fall, it also starts raining constantly. Like we don't really get a lot of heavy snow. We recently did, which was very, very unusual, like early December snow. That was very unusual. What happens here mostly is as soon as it hits fall, it starts raining and it rains until like March or something. And it just doesn't stop because I live very close to the sea. So it's just rain and rain and rain and more rain. So you don't really want to spend time outside. So of course, everything is shifted. But that also means that not only am I communing more with spirits that I can easily commune with in my home, but it also means that my practice tends to focus more on my home. So I, for example, would renew wards, for example, which of course also makes sense because during the dark time, there are also spirits around more often that you don't necessarily want to come into your home. So renewing those wards is something that I always tend to do around fall or early winter, something like that.
Okay, so when you mentioned about like how you don't have a lot of sunlight, I was like, oh, neither do we. But then you were like, oh, it comes up around 9 and goes down around 3. And I'm like, that's a little different. I feel like we get at least an extra 2 hours. Like I think it comes up around like 8 and then goes down around 4-ish. But that's also before the winter solstice, which is like, the darkest time of the year.
Yeah.
So I want to say that's like maybe that's probably like our solstice and then it starts to grow after that. But yeah, you probably get a little less sunlight than we do for sure. I also agree with a lot of the protections in my wards and everything. All of those are renewed. All of those are either built or renewed. And those are kind of like part of the crafts for me. Like the garlands or the wreaths or anything that is kind of like winter, Christmas, Yule, whatever, based around that. A lot of that is kind of like built in. Even like the drinks that I serve or make for myself, the food that I make for myself and the people around me, it all has like protections and wards kind of built into it with like the spices and whatnot. Just because agreed, like a lot of the winter spirits, even the ones that I work with are kind of like, they're not the kindest. So especially the ones that I don't want to work with are definitely not the kindest spirits that I'm going to go out of my way to work with. And I've even noticed having Bane, because I've had him since March. So this is our first winter together. And man, ever since like late fall, he has just been all like I think he's just seeing all the spirits because I don't really ward against like general spirits. I
Mm,
ward against, the evil spirits and the ones that intend harm, but I don't really mind if spirits come in and out of my house. And I
same.
think I'm seeing a lot of because he's running around screaming at my partner, screaming at me, and my partner's like, "What does he want?" And I'm like, "I think he's just seeing spirits." And then he's just sitting there staring at like corners and meowing at them or like, and I'm like, he's never done this with us months before. It's only now. And I've noticed that the more words that I put up, the less he does it. So I'm thinking he's seeing the spirits. That's what he thinks. Um, my partner, and then that's what I think. So I don't know. But I'm also curious. Okay, so you are, do you celebrate Yule?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. That's like
Okay.
one of the most important holidays.
Okay. Yeah. How do you do that? Like, is there like specific celebrations that you do or crafts or things like
Um, it usually depends. Like I don't have like this one practice that I always do, but it always kind of revolves around the same kinds of things, at least like the last 2 to 3 years, maybe. Because of course, like when I started out my practice, like the early years, I was still Wiccan. So my Yule looked definitely a lot different than it does now. Because now I'm kind of, even though I'm not a reconstructionist Norse pagan, I have more of an intuitive approach. I kind of still like to do my research on how in pre-Christian Scandinavia people would have actually practiced. Um, so I really like to get as close as possible to a proper Yule bloat, which luckily we actually have a story about. I mean, it's pretty rare that we actually know how people practiced back then, but there's luckily at least one story that actually tells us what people were doing. So that's kind of nice. Um, this year I will probably change it up a little bit because that original bloat would have included toasts to Odin for victory, Freyr and Njordr for fertility, and then, well, the king, which not something I need to work with, and then the ancestors. But since I'm not really reliant on the land because I live in a big city and I don't grow my own food. I don't really see the need to give any offerings to fertility deities. I might do that if I finally live in my own house and I am able to grow my own food, but this year it doesn't really seem necessary. So I have decided to give offerings and toasts to Odin because for one, of course, he's related to death, but in general, he's much more active for me during winter. So I kind of relate to him more in winter. Then my ancestors, definitely. And in relation to that, Hel, because of course, she's the goddess of death and like keeps the ancestors basically and cares for them. And I would really like to also incorporate Skadi because she's a goddess of winter. So that would just make sense to me.
How do you
And
incorporate each one of those? Do you
yeah,
have like an altar or like do you do rites for them?
yeah, I have an entire deity altar where of course I have like my statues and candles and stuff for the deities I usually on a regular work with. Um, but I will like decorate it for Yule most probably. And like take the statues down that are not included in the ritual and like prepare the whole thing and make it look nice. And then what's usually included in that bloat is that you one, of course, like give some kinds of offerings. Could be very easy by just, for example, giving meat as an offering. Back in the days, it would have been, of course, like slaughtered animals. That would have at least, I mean, at least they ate the meat of the animals. So at least it was like a huge feast and everything. Everyone was invited, and people would like literally drink until the ale was gone. So people would get shit hella drunk, and like feast and stuff. Uh, the most important thing probably was though that the blood of the sacrificed animals was used and it was blessed and like sprinkled around the idols, the gods' idols, and the temple and the people around to like bless them and stuff. And I like to kind of substitute that blood because I don't want to sacrifice an animal. So I will sacrifice that blood with mead and like sprinkle a little bit of the mead that I will bless beforehand on the altar, on the idols, on myself, to like bless everything. And then I will probably give like separate offerings to the different gods and my ancestors, everyone that I'm honoring, and like maybe read like some of their stories or something. I haven't like figured out the entire ritual yet, but that will be like probably it.
Okay. I mean that you said that that's probably it, but that sounds like a lot, first of all.
Yeah.
Especially with how many deities you're kind of working with or honoring or at least just acknowledging.
Mm.
I mean just even venerating a deity or venerating ancestors is a lot more work than I think people originally think. Um I mean, if you're venerating them all the time, right? Like if you're like, oh, I venerate my ancestors every week or whatever. Like I feel like that's a lot of work. I mean, that's
It
me
is.
every single week. That's a lot. Even though it doesn't sound like it is, like once you get into that and then you miss a single week, you're like, oh, that's actually a lot. Anyway, yeah, I think so. I love talking to people who celebrate Yule specifically because this might be like an unpopular opinion, but I think like, oh, I know, oh, so spicy. I don't celebrate Yule, and I kind of get a little not
Hmm.
irritated, but like I just kind of feel like I'm not me, but I feel like there's a lot of misrepresentation of like, oh, everybody's celebrating Yule. If you're not celebrating Christmas and you're a pagan, you're celebrating Yule. Like that's like like kind of like this like if it's not Christmas, it's Yule type of thing.
Mm,
And it's like that's not at all what it is, where like I don't consider myself to be celebrating really any of the Sabbats. Um, just because I mean, I'm not Wiccan. I don't even really consider myself to be pagan. Like I
mm,
consider myself to be spiritual and occultist, but there's a lot of things that I wouldn't consider myself that people refer to me as that I'm like, it's not really worth going into right now. Um, Yule specifically because I love the winter and I love celebrating it so much. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Merry Yule then." And I'm like, Yeah, that's like, yeah, cool. Like, cool. I'm fine with that." Same thing if somebody said like Happy Hanukkah or Merry Christmas to me, like, same thing. I like it.
mm.
I don't celebrate any of those. And so when it comes down to it, well, I celebrate Christmas with my friends, but when it comes down to it, like me personally for my practice, I feel like the way I would describe it is I celebrate the winter solstice because again, I'm a local based practitioner. So like I celebrate my area locally. So if I haven't even got snowfall yet, like I'm not really celebrating winter yet, in my opinion. If
Yeah.
I even if I don't get snowfall, then maybe I don't get to celebrate winter. That sucks, but like I don't really get to do that. And so like I don't know, like Yule, I guess, would be the winter solstice, which is either on the 21st or the 22nd most of the time of December, depending on when the darkest day is. Which, like, yes, that's based in it, but that there's like a whole separate like spiritual thing that I think if I was celebrating Yule, I would have all of these other factors that dive into it. So, not that like again, I don't think that it's like an unpopular like spicy opinion. I just think it's more of like I don't think everybody celebrates Yule if they're witchy.
Yeah.
And that's
But
that's
that's a general thing. Like not everyone follows the wheel of the year. I mean, yeah, it's popular, but like not everyone does it. I'm getting continuously requests for like do a video on Beltane and do a video on like Letha, and I'm like I'm not celebrating those. Like what
well,
am I
yeah,
supposed to tell you?
that was a really big thing of like I did a video on Beltana like once, and it was mainly because I was diving into like my Irish Scottish side.
Mm,
Because they celebrate the fire festivals there, and I think that's cool.
yeah.
And so I was kind of trying to like lightly connect to it. And the second I posted that video, I still have not like gotten let up with like, oh well now do like Samhain, now do Yule, now do like what's the yeah, Lammas. Like I'm like, I don't celebrate any of these, like I don't know what to do, first of all. And like second, like none of these are my practice. Like sure, a lot of them align with it, but like it's not at all what is my practice. And
Mm,
I think the wheel of the year is kind of I like it to a point, but I think because the internet glorifies it so much, it kind of dampens, or it feels like it dampens a lot of other people's practices who don't have four seasons. Like there's so many places in the world that don't have
yes.
four seasons. Even just the US specifically, they don't have four seasons. Like not all of us have four seasons. So somebody
Yeah.
in Miami or somebody in LA or somebody in Texas, like they are not going to be celebrating the same wheel of the year that I do. And I think that it's really frustrating that we put so much weight or so much like attention to specific parts of the wheel of the year when like other people don't experience these. Like anybody in South America, I'm assuming I've never been to South America, so I'm like trying to, but like I'm assuming you don't have those four seasons of like spring, summer, fall, winter. You know, like you might have wet season and dry season. I don't know. But that was a whole tangent of basically me saying I don't celebrate Yule. uh, but I do think that a lot of things that come with it, kind of like the Yule log, right? Like that, the idea of that, of protecting yourself through the night from all of the evil spirits and whatnot. Like that idea I kind of have, but it's really just a protective candle that I have at my hearth that I'll
Mm.
light like throughout the winter every night.
You
Um,
just accidentally hit a trigger point of mine. The
tell
Yule log.
Oh, okay. Tell me about the Yeah, tell me.
Ah, okay. The Yule, well, it's basically two, the Yule log and the Yule goat,
Okay.
because whenever you Google those, you will find they are definitely from pre-Christian Scandinavia. They come from there. They are pagan, period. No sources. No fucking sources say that they come from pre-Christian Scandinavia. If you look at the Yule log, the first friggin' mention of the Yule log is from the 17th century. And if I'm correct, the first mention of the Yule log is from like France or Spain or something. And there are like different kinds of traditions around some kind of burning a log around Christmas time in all around Europe. And I'm like, why should like Spain have or practice a tradition from pre-Christian Scandinavia? That makes literally no sense. And there is not a single source that says that or that mentions any kind of Yule log. By the way, the first mention also mentions it as a Christian or like Christmas log, not a Yule log. And there's no mention in any kinds of sources about pre-Christian Scandinavia that mentions a Yule log. Nothing. Same with the Yule goat. It's like it could, I mean, maybe, possibly, who the hell knows? But I hate this. It is definitely that way. Period. Oh, it's just like the
Okay.
Christmas. The Christians stole Yule.
I agree. Oh, no, I agree with that actually, because there's a lot of that. This is like kind of a separate topic, but this just goes into it of like there's so much hate around Christianity in the witchy and occult community that like I get why, because trust me, girl, I've been traumatized in that. You know, I grew up Catholic, I grew up Christian. I dated somebody who was raised in an evangelical cult. Let's not even get, yeah, it was a whole thing. And we went through it, you know, like it was interesting, but um Christianity as a core is not bad. Again, like if you look at, I could talk mad shit about the ceremonialists in a cult. Like if you want to talk shit about I'll talk shit about Christianity. I'll talk shit about Wicca. I'll talk shit about ceremonialist practitioners. I'll talk shit about folk practitioners. And like, there is so many problematic things, but it's because of the way people use them. So it's kind of
Yes.
irritating to hear people talk shit about Christianity and not acknowledge all of the other problematic things that are happening in their own community. Because that's it just makes me mad about like how, oh, Christianity stole Yule and blah blah blah. It's like that's not.
And then those people have probably never even looked into a history book. Like they don't know shit about Scandinavian history, and still they kind of feel like they know that Yule was stolen by Christians. Like, what the fuck?
Well, okay, a lot of these people that talk a lot of mad shit are all either Wiccan or Wiccan based, which I think is incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
uh due to the fact of, you know, the whole origin of Wicca.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave that there. You can choose to do your own research on the history of Wicca.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Wicca's bad though. That's the thing. It's like it's just to talk this mad shit and then not look at your own issues or like the own issues within your own community. That's where I think there's a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So stop shitting on Christians about how they stole Yule and whatever, and just like let people celebrate what they want to celebrate, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And please read a few history books. That wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I don't know. I just think like just be kind to each other. At the end of the day, everything is changing, everything is evolving, and I don't see the issue with like being able to combine these two things either. Like there's so
Yeah.
many that do combine with each, like you don't have to, there's nothing, you don't have to be pure about anything. Like
Hmm.
that's weird. That's
Fun
weird, Puritan.
fun fact, it would be historically accurate to celebrate Yule and Christmas at the same time on the same date, alongside each other.
Yes. So like just do that. You know,
Yeah.
like I mean, I don't know.
I mean, of course, like nobody wants to hear that. But I mean, if you only have to look at the Wikipedia article about Yule, and you will find that Håkon the Good, the first king of Norway, who was the person who moved the date of the Yule celebrations to Christmas, he did that because it was convenient, because everybody could basically practice and celebrate together. And he was a Christian king, but he still celebrated Yule with his people. So it's not like he wanted to eradicate it. It was just more convenient.
well, but also like that's community. You know, like you don't have to agree on what to celebrate, but it's like you get to celebrate with your community. It doesn't have to be like, oh, well, I'm celebrating the 22nd, so I can't make it to your, you know, like celebrate with each other. And I mean, my friends, all of my friends, save but like two of them. None of them are witchy. None of them are even spiritual at all. But
Yeah.
all of them are like, oh, like if I walked around when we had our Christmas celebration for our friends, if I walked around and was like, oh, I want to like, I don't know, take some of your hair and like do this like little ritual thing, all of them would be like, okay, cool. Like they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. They don't give a shit what I'm talking about, but they're just like, oh, well, you know, she's happy and she's celebrating. We're happy and we're celebrating. And like, that's kind of the point of holidays, right? Like we're just trying to celebrate and get through this experience as a human together. To make it
Yeah.
even more difficult is to like I don't know, separate it and become like them versus us type of thing. And it's just
Mhm.
it's frustrating to see, especially in a community such as the occult community and the witchy community where all of us are othered already. So like to be othered and then try othering other people, that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Or be like, we're better than Christians.
Oh my God. Yeah, like are you okay? Well, that's a whole separate conversation that I want to have in a different video, not this one. We're talking about winter stuff today.
Yeah. Winter, we should call the video Winter Rants.
Winter rants. Yeah. Okay, so I'm curious, do you have like when the winter comes around, personally, I like to collect snow and like use that in spells and rituals and things of that sort. Do you do or like, you know, sticks or certain herbs that maybe like just the dried out berry. Like do you have any of those practices?
I actually, it's funny that you mentioned snow, because as I mentioned, we rarely get snow. So when we got snow early in December, I was extremely excited and I instantly went out and collected snow and put that in my freezer, because I was like, if I ever, like, it happens rarely, luckily, because I don't know fucked up people, but like if it would happen that a person would be annoying as fuck and I wanted to freeze them, what better way than in snow water? Like that would be amazing. So I'm keeping that either for that or for an offering to Skadi, because like as a winter goddess, I feel like snow water is an even better offering than like tap water.
Yeah, you know what? That I had never even thought about that, like of using snow water. See, I'm still like in my water phase. I am not, I don't have any water in my chart. I am not a feely, there's nothing. So any kind of like water magic, I really try to connect with because I just it's so foreign to me. But the snow water that you just mentioned as an offering, like even just melting that down and using that like in a tea or an infusion, I think would be fantastic. That's
Hmm.
such a good
Especially
idea.
especially if it's also so pure. Like if you really connect like the pure snow from somewhere when it's thick, and you take like the uppermost part, there's usually not like any dirt in there or anything. It's so pure and clear.
I like to use my snow for like unbindings. So
Mm. Oh.
yeah, so I used this for a friend a couple years ago and it worked fairly well where he felt like he was just there was like something there was somebody else like practicing on him, and they were like, putting stuff under him. And basically like you just make a poppet out of the snow, or you can put it like in there or whatever, and you put anything inside the little poppet, like, but it has to still be in the snow, and then you just let it melt. And like you
Oh,
kind of like charge it to melt away any of the magic or the hexes or bindings or whatever is on this person, and it like literally melts away from them. And it worked like a charm. I don't think that it's like a heavy unbinding by any means, but it definitely works really, really well. So,
I could see that working for like bad habits.
oh yeah, or even like
Would
bad
be good.
thoughts or
Anything, basically, anything that want to go away.
way. Yeah, I think that'd be
And
fantastic.
then flush it down the toilet, the water.
Yeah, or just let it melt like outside. And then it
Mm.
just kind of like goes back into the earth. I think that's, I mean, I love a good poppet spell. I think poppet spells are just,
Oh,
I love them
yeah.
so much.
Oh.
So that was
I
my,
was I was so insanely excited when I recently, because I've looked for it for a long time. I knew that puppet spells are like, of course, they're basically a thing in every fucking practice because yeah, of course. But I until recently had not found a puppet spell like with the typical like putting needles in it kind of thing in Scandinavian folk magic, and I recently found it and I was so excited.
wait, do you know what the spell was?
It was actually to like instill pain on someone. So there's the story about this older lady who had like a yeah, another woman in her house who cleaned for her, and she like I think she stole something or something like that, and she wanted to punish her. So she made a puppet for her and put needles in the body of the puppet, and the other woman instantly fell ill and couldn't work anymore. And the husband of the woman at some point found the puppet and like removed the needles, and the other woman was totally fine again. The funny thing is though that the husband was so afraid of his wife because he then realized, oh, my wife is a witch, that he put the needles back so that she wouldn't notice. Um, so the woman fell ill again, and the practitioner at some point, because she was at some point like, okay, she suffered enough now. She removed the needles and then it was fine. But
Oh my God.
he was so afraid of his wife that he put the needles back.
I mean, to be fair, if I was in his position, I'd also be like, oh, I don't want to be caught fucking with it. Like also like you don't know what you did. I don't know. That I'd be in the
Yeah.
same boat where I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna stick that back and pretend she didn't see that.
Please
Oh
don't fuck with your
God,
stuff.
that's actually crazy. A little pop. I know all the tangents today. But yes, the snow poppet is probably one of my favorites, and I think that it worked like a charm. It was super easy. And I also like snow is cleansing, right? Like it's like very jarring, it's cold and it's pure, like you said. It's very cleansing, so I think that that works out really well. I can't think of any other way. I haven't thought about like using it as an offering either, but that's a really good idea. And maybe I'll have to do that for like my death altar.
Ooh, that would be great. I mean, snow definitely kills.
Yeah, I mean it kills, but also like winter is just encompassed in death. Like
Yeah,
that's so perfect. Do
yeah.
you
I
work
could also see snow working to cover something up. Because of course, like if it snows, like you don't see the ground, you don't see anything. So like if
I
you want to cover something, cover it with snow.
love that shit. I love that idea. Oh my God. Oh, to cover something up. That's so cunning. I love. Ooh, I'm gonna have to like play with that and figure out a spell for that. I don't really have a reason to use that right now, but I kind of like want one now. Just so
If
I
you
can
do, tell
figure it
me if it works.
I will. I mean if I ever have a reason to try it, I will, and I'll let you know what I did. And same to you, because that's a fascinating idea to use it to cover something up. Ooh, or
I
like
mean, I guess you could also use that even as a glamour to cover something up that you don't like about yourself.
exactly. Yeah, like I was just gonna say like a glamour, like even not even covering up a situation, but like a glamour would be a fantastic way to like if you added it to like an oil or like a face spray.
Ooh,
Yeah. Oh, look at us.
cover up those pimples.
Huh?
To cover up those pimples.
Yeah. You're like, oh, my face toner just gotta like cover that shit up really quick. Ooh, that's such a good idea. Or if you like wanted to freeze like a habit or like a very small tick that you might have for like a very small amount of time. So
Oh
say
yeah.
for me, if it's like saying a lot, like if
Oh.
I don't know, yeah, exactly, like charged like an essence of like the snow water specifically in like a dropper bottle and it's just snow water and like maybe a couple other like edible herbs and like use that as like almost like an elixir like in my tongue.
Ooh.
That would we're both like, let's just come up with like ways to use snow.
I honestly just recently like started just thinking about like different kinds of waters and how to use them because like I live in a city, so I don't really collect rainwater or anything like that. I don't really have the possibility to do that. So I didn't really think about that ever. But like just recently I started thinking like, oh yeah, that would be cool.
I'm the same way. I don't really have like the means to collect water unless I trek out to the mountains, which like I can and I do sometimes, but it's just I think maybe it's just I don't have the opportunity to go out and like I don't know, like it's not an easy opportunity for me to use that creativity. Um,
Yeah.
have you read the books by Anwen Avalon yet?
No, sadly not yet, but I really want to.
They're so good. Yeah, like that is like one of the bigger pieces that like spiked my inspiration for that. She
Mm,
is so creative with the way that she uses like ice and water and like steam and all these things. Like she just bath water, like just bath water. I'm like, sell your bath water. No, I'm kidding. Your bath. uh,
that's a good money spell.
it's true, that's true. Yeah, like adding things into your bath and things like that, like even if it's just essences or oils or things like that, I think have made a really big difference in just the small practices that I do on a daily or
Mm.
weekly basis. But yeah.
I really want to get more into water once, like hopefully I will move more to the sea again. I mean, I don't really live that far off, but like I don't have a car, so I can't just drive 1.5 hours to the sea. Um, but we really want to like buy a house next year, and I really hope that we will maybe find one that is more close to the sea than we're living now, because then all the fucking sea magic, oh, that would be so good.
Oh, the sea magic would be so. I'm not even like a ocean person, but sea magic is
Mhm.
so fucking cool.
Especially because I mean we have two seas, so it's like we could even move to the North Sea, which of course has like ebb and flow. And like how cool would it be to make like to do like a banishing spell when it's ebbing, when the water is leaving and stuff like that. It's like I have so many ideas. I just have to live near the sea.
Yeah, that's true. You need to like write all of them down so you can revisit them or something when you do move there. Something that I want to do really bad now that I have a yard and I have like a little fire pit and I really want to do like a winter fire pit type of ritual thing. Um, so I have like a what is it called? A fireplace. I have a fireplace in my house, but it's not usable because there's a crack in the back. It's a really old
Mm,
house. So we can't safely put a fire in there. So that's where my little candle comes in, where it's like a protection candle, and I set it in there and light it. But we do have the fire pit, and I really want to do some kind of like winter ritual of some sort of like I don't know. I have two other witchy friends that we've like started to kind of like do little mini witchy rituals and stuff with each other, but I want to do something to like celebrate the winter outside, but not be freezing my ass off. So I've been trying to like figure out like kind of what to do because the only ideas that come to mind are like very fire festival-y adjacent, and that's not what I want. Does that make sense?
mm.
Yeah.
Although I mean, if you maybe would want to like around the winter solstice welcome the sun back with a fire, I mean that would make sense.
That's true. Yeah, on the solstice, I could probably do that. I wonder what I'm doing that day. I'm like,
Which struggles do I have the time that day?
Oh, I do. And my partner's working, so I can get really fucking weird with it. Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah. Do you have any plans for winter solstice?
The bloat, yes, but apart from that, the sad thing is, I mean, it's also cool, but like I leave on December 22nd to like, of course, like celebrate Christmas with my family. And then after Christmas, actually on the second Christmas day, on the 26th, I'm leaving for Egypt until the beginning of January.
Wait, that's so
So
cool though.
that is really cool. I'm freaking excited. My sister lives in Cairo, so we're basically like traveling back with her. So she comes to Germany for Christmas, and then we will travel back with her after Christmas. So I'm very excited about that. But that will probably totally throw my winter rhythm off,
Yeah.
because of course, like 1.5 years of like, I don't know, 20 degrees Celsius or something. Uh, it will be so sunny and so warm, and I will come back and it will be freezing, and I will be like, what's going on?
Oh
Um,
God. Yeah, that's totally gonna
so
throw everything off.
but I mean, that means like I I'm not. Oh, never mind. I just thought I was muted, but I'm not. Um, so that means that I have only the 21st of December, and then maybe, because like if you look at when Yule would have been originally celebrated, we nobody really knows, but there is one source that says it was celebrated on midwinter, and midwinter is not on the winter solstice. Midwinter would nowadays be sometime in January, like timed with a full moon, which I think is cooler even than the solstice. So maybe I will like separate that, do like a big bloat on the winter solstice, and then do something else on the midwinter. We
Yeah,
will see.
I feel like that's a good idea. Because I mean, I'm somebody who likes to celebrate. Like, I'm a really extra person. Like, I like to celebrate things. I just like to celebrate things. Like I like get excited about stuff and like have traditions. Like, I really enjoy that. So
Mm.
why not like have two things to celebrate? Like celebrate the winter solstice, Yule, and Christmas, and then come back and also celebrate midwinter. Like, why not? That'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, especially since ah yeah, pre-Christian Scandinavian holidays are a little bit tricky because a lot of them are like, we don't know when they were celebrated or what was done, and it's like in general there are not a lot of sources on a lot of the holidays, so it's not like you have like 8 holidays like in the wheel of the year. So it's like you have to celebrate a lot on the festivals that you get. So it's like maybe I can at least split Yule.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like especially with like everything going, what's funny is I think winter is usually like the most busy time for a lot of people, which is
Mm,
ironic because I feel like winter is supposed to be the opposite of that. Like it should be time to rest and like take off work and like really just like chill and reset and not have like a lot of plans and like stressing things to like follow through on or figure out. But that's exactly what we've created because capitalistic hellscape. And so I don't know, I just think that like it's kind of frustrating, and I try really hard every year to make winter less and less of a chore, you know?
mm,
Because and I feel like that's like almost like an aspect of my practice is like going with the seasons and less of like, okay, I have to like go out and celebrate with my family, and then I have to go out and celebrate with my partner's family, and then my friends, and then I have to like go out and get gifts for everybody, and I have to figure out, like it's like just chill the fuck out. Oh my God. Like I want it to be as chill as possible and like most restful, because then going into the next year, like I want to be able to come out with all of this energy by spring. Isn't that the
yeah.
point? Like we're animals. That's like the point. Like that's the point, right?
We should be human hibernating.
Exactly. I agree. And I mean, I think a good way that I at least try to do that is like do readings or something about like, the whole year and reflect and journal. Yeah, my death work gets a lot more intricate during the winter, and yeah, it just
Hmm.
gets like super intense with those. And my crafts. I like to sit at home and not see anybody and just craft away.
For me, one very, very obvious thing is always that, like, I mean, I'm a research person either way. Like, I consume history and archaeology books and anthropology books like one after another. But like in winter, I get so fucking nerdy Like because I just don't go outside, and usually it's like usually in winter and spring I'm just outside as much as I can, trying to connect with nature and local spirits. And like in winter, I don't know, maybe it's the aspect that Odin gets more active for me during winter. Um, but
That
I get so research heavy. It's crazy. Like I basically jump from research rabbit hole to research rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean like that's but again like you're kind of like turning it all inward, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not constantly like sending out so much energy. It's almost like you're like gathering it or at least like
Yeah.
trying to preserve the rest that you have.
Yeah.
Um but I just feel like that's part of the whole working with the seasons type of deal, right? Uh,
Yeah.
that's just me. Okay. I kind of want to go into because we have a little bit of we've been talking for like an hour now ish. I kind of want to
Wow.
go. I know it's probably like really fucking late for you now. At least I think so. Your bedtime is not the same as mine. But I want to go into like more of like the cozier aspects. So do you have like, and even if it's not witchy, obviously, like do you have um like books that you're planning on reading? Do you have like specific drinks that you like to drink, cozy foods that like comfort foods that you usually gravitate towards or make during this time of year?
Oh, all the German Christmas snacks.
Yes, that's what I want
Oh,
to hear.
like, I mean, to be fair though, Germany is a little bit strange because, of course, like you have like Thanksgiving and you have like Halloween and you have all of these celebrations. We don't really celebrate Halloween like at all. It's not a thing here.
What?
Like it's getting more and more of a thing, but it's not really a thing. So that means that Christmas time basically starts in September here. As soon as the clock hits, as soon as the clock hits September 1st, there are Christmas snacks and Christmas cookies all around the shops. So it kind of just sometimes
Wow.
it sometimes really destroys like the nice coziness, because it's like it's still like September, it's not really dark yet. So mm, so I try to not eat that many Christmas snacks in September already, but like they're so good. Uh so it's like basically all of the gingerbread, like chocolate covered gingerbread, or like all the marzipan. Oh, great. Or Stollen, which I don't think it has a translation to English, but it's like this. I don't know. It's not really a cake, but it's kind of a cake, and it has like raisins and sometimes marzipan, and then there's like sugar on top, and it's so insanely sweet. And there's different editions, but it's so good. Um, I'm personally not a Glühwein fan. So, like, if you think of German Christmas, usually you think of Glühwein. I'm not a Glühwein person. I don't really like it. I don't drink. So it's like, And there is a children's edition, but I also don't really like that. I just don't like the taste of it. So I'm more of a hot chocolate person, or like a chai tea person.
That's
Um, but like all of the good German winter snacks, that's a must.
I'm jealous. So my friend, she's from Germany and she brought me like all, the good German chocolates and things like that. But she specifically got me German Christmas cookies and she was like, "You cannot eat these." Yeah, she was like, "You cannot eat these until like Christmas time because the German police will come for you." And I was like, "Okay, sounds good." So I've been saving them and I'm really excited to eat them. But I kind of like I'm jealous of everybody else around the world who celebrate Christmas and have all these like fantastic foods because I mean in general, not even just around Christmas, I just mean like food in general. The US just does not have that. Like we do not there's like obviously there's like specific places that you can go and get these really good foods, but you just they're not like just at access just to go and get at the grocery store. Like a lot of the food here is just like it's okay, I guess. But having traveled around the world, food is just better anywhere else. And like
That's so sad.
I, and I mean, even talk to people who have visited the US, like I feel like they'll agree. Maybe I'm just like shitting on the US for no reason, but I personally think that food anywhere else that's not in the US is really good unless you're at like a niche restaurant or somebody who knows really well how to make that specific kind of food. So I'm
Mm.
kind of jealous to like hear about like, oh, like I just buy these cookies all the time and I'm like we have like those Oreo, like we had Shrek Oreos once, you know, like like is that a flex? I don't know.
I mean, you have all the Oreo flavors though.
We do have all the Oreo flavors, so I guess that is a flex. It's some
Mm.
for somebody that's a flex. Um, yeah,
Uh,
man, Christmas
some,
food.
something that I would really like to enjoy are the typical Christmas markets, because like there are so beautiful Christmas markets that are so like cozy, and everyone is basically standing there and freezing and like drinking their glühwein or their hot chocolates, or like browsing the little craft shops. So I kind of like them, but the thing is, one, I don't like drunk people, and two, I especially don't like mid-40s drunk men, because they get very friggin' touchy on Christmas markets. Um, so I kind of like and I dislike Christmas markets, which I know it's blasphemy, but mm,
Whatever. I mean, I love Christmas, and I love like if you want to say blasphemy, like I fucking love Catholic churches. I love those places. They are gorgeous. They're
yeah.
so pretty, and they're just like I don't know, you can just feel the energy in them. I just love them so much. So, yeah, I'm a witch. I'm an occultist. I'm not even Catholic. I'm not Christian in any sort of the way, but like God, I love Catholic churches and like just the aesthetics, they're beautiful. So I get that. And I've never been to like a Christmas market before.
You have to come to Germany in Christmas time. It's so beautiful.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
like go especially to one of the cities with a very, very nice Christmas market, one of those like there are even medieval Christmas markets, like basically Christmas Ren fairs. Those exist. And it's like, for example, you have like a city with this amazing, beautiful old part of town, and then there's a Christmas market in there, and everything is like lit up with beautiful lights, and you have the smell of glühwein and the smell of hot chocolate and nice
I would
food.
fucking cry. I'd cry. I'd see it and then I think I would just start sobbing. I honestly, I
Yeah, it's
those.
beautiful.
We don't have those. I want that so bad. I was even like visiting a friend in Germany like this last year, 2 years ago, I don't know, recently. And I was just like walking around her city with her and I was just like it's just so fucking pretty. Like it's just pretty. We don't
Yeah,
have
some cities. Yeah.
everything in like I was like everything around me is made out of cardboard and they're all like they're just it's like I'm like, but here it's like cobblestone and like people are riding bikes everywhere. And it's just like, I don't know, there's greenery. Like,
Mm.
that's nice. You know, I'm just like, God, I just want, and there's a river. Like, I'm jealous. I love it so much. And I wish that we had those priorities here in the US, but we don't. And I have a lot of opinions on that. That doesn't matter. Um, but yeah, Christmas market sounds like a lot of fun. I've seen those videos where they have like people dress up as like Krampus and like walk around, like walk down the street and stuff. And I've always
Mm.
wanted to see those in person just because I feel like those costumes look huge. Have you ever seen those before?
They don't exist in northern Germany. So like Krampus and everything like that is more of like a Bavaria and like Austria, I think, kind of tradition. So we don't really have them, especially because like the northernmost part of Germany where I'm from was Danish up until 150 years ago. So most of the traditions are like a weird mashup of Danish and German. It's a little bit strange.
I actually
Um,
didn't know that.
hmm, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of Germans don't know that,
Oh,
because we don't learn that in school. But
that's interesting. Yeah, because so my friend's from Bavaria, so that makes a lot more sense. A lot of my knowledge is from that area, of
yeah,
anything that she knows. So that makes a little more sense. Uh,
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's one, I can tell you about one very fun Christmas tradition, which I think is also originally Danish, but like a lot of Northern Germans do that or have like some kind of tradition that is similar to that. And that is where on Christmas Eve, everyone will get, or sometimes it's only the children, but like, you know, traditions change and stuff. You have this thing where everyone gets like a, I don't know, it's not an oatmeal, but something like that. Um, and in one of them, in one of the pots of oatmeal is an almond, a hidden almond. And the one who finds the hidden almond, like of course the original would be some kind of they will be lucky or something. But the more modern tradition, of course, is like they will get an extra gift. Um,
Cute. Okay.
I think that is so cute.
Yeah, that is cute. That's like a fun little, I just like the fun little traditions that it's like, why does that happen? I don't know, but it's fun to do. You know, like the like little
Yeah.
things like that. Or even what is it, apple, like bobbing for apples during the fall.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I've never looked up the history, which I guess I suppose I could, but like I couldn't really think of something off the top of my head of like why we do that. And it's like,
Yeah.
to be honest, like even if we don't really have a reason, like that's fun. Like that's
Yeah.
why. Like I think
That's enough reason. It's fun.
I agree. I'm like, it's like, why is it a fall tradition? Because I don't know, apples are in season and people want to be stupid. Like it's funny to watch people bob for apples. Uh,
Mm.
oh, you know what we should talk about since we're talking about like regional things is our travel plans for next year.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to be talking more at the audience and less at you because you know the idea. So Benta and I want to do a trip where some of our followers come with us and travel with us for like 4 to 5 days or something like that. So far, a lot of people really want to go to places like Iceland and Norway and Scotland, and I do too. So if that sounds interesting, we also just need to figure out like what people's budgets look like, what kind of things people want to do. So if that sounds even mildly interesting to you, no matter what are feeling of like budget wise, we just want to know where everybody's at. So there's a survey down in the description, and it would be a lot of help to kind of figure out like a base. If you could just fill out that survey and let us know so that we can better plan this together. The plan is maybe like late fall next year, right? Like that's kind of when we want to do this. Uh,
Yeah.
and we don't really know like exactly the activities that we're going to do yet, but we do know that we would just like to travel with you guys. So if that sounds interesting to you and that may be a possibility, there's also, I think there's like payment plans and stuff too that we can
Yeah. For
offer.
people in the US, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, only in the US, sorry. But if you're in the US, I guess there are payment plans. But we would just like to understand kind of like what our options are and just generalized of what that could look like. So take the survey, let us know, and then we will kind of start opening up a little more of like what that entails when we have a better idea of that. Because that would be a lot of fun, and that will most likely be the first time that Benta and I are meeting in person as well. So
Yeah.
that'd be super cool to like meet them and then meet everybody else at the same time and kind of just like go on a little mini group adventure with everyone. And
It
I
will
know,
be a first time for everyone.
yeah, exactly. I'll be taking my camera, so we'll probably get a bunch of photos and videos that I can like send out to people, and I just think that'd be fun. Um, Lastly, can we talk a little bit about like the darker aspects of winter and like your practice or any experiences that you've had with spirits or any things of that sort? Have you ever had like darker experiences or like a little more like deeper, I don't know, uncomfortable? I don't know if that's the right word. I'm using that.
I'm I'm actually I'm a rare breed of witchy practitioner. I have never had a negative experience with any type of spirit. I've never had a haunting, nothing. Nothing.
You know what? Maybe it's because you're smart about how you do. I
Maybe my
always
words are too good and just don't let anything in. I don't know.
feel like,
It's strange. I mean, I live in a house that's 100 years old, and there's nothing. It seems like there is like nothing here. It's so weird.
wow.
It's so strange. And I
It's
mean, I'm not necessarily mad about it. Um, because I don't necessarily want a haunting or anything like that, or like a watcher or something. I feel like that's insanely scary. Although, oh, I forgot about one thing, and that was actually in winter.
oh,
Now that
oh,
I'm thinking about it, it wasn't at home though. It was when we were on vacation in the Harz area in like central Germany in the mountains. And also we're staying in an extremely old house. I don't know, 400 years, something like that, extremely ancient. Um, and we were just sleeping. And interestingly enough, like if something happens, sometimes like I don't usually dream really. I don't really remember my dreams. But if I dream weird stuff, it's very strange. But that one time, like we were just sleeping and nothing was happening, and I didn't really feel anything in that house previously. But I just randomly woke up, and instantly when I woke up, I was like, something's here. Something's here, something's standing right next to me, next to the bed, and it's just like staring and watching and just being ill. And I like very, very quickly just like energy work wise banished that thing, and then it was fine. And it never came back. But like that was weird. And I have never had an experience like that ever in my home. So ugh, oh, that was disgusting.
wow. I'm I'm like baffled that you've never had any other experiences than that. That is like yeah, you are definitely a different kind of breed because I have never met another practitioner that has like never had. I'm not even like saying like a scary, but like even just like, oh yeah, I've had like this issue that I've had to like deal with or whatever. Like that's baffling to me, which I mean like good for you, but that I'm also like, am I just like a little too hardcore on the fuck around and find out part? I don't know.
Well, on the other side, I sometimes kind of feel like a cheat. Like when other people like ask me like, how do I banish stuff? And I'm like, I never had to banish a spirit. It's like I could tell you in theory, but I never had to banish like this one time. Yes, but that's about it. Maybe
Wow.
I'm also just like too blind. Maybe I just like explain myself things away. So like for example, I had this thing where I don't know why, but because it was in the same apartment that I'm living in now, but I had this thing where I would want to sleep, and it was only when I wanted to sleep, only when it was nighttime. There was like this knacking noise, like a tick tick tick, and like it was not 100% regular, but also not extremely irregular. It was strange, and it was just hella annoying. Um, but I never really like. I just was like, well, maybe it's a bug in like some kind of wood or something. I don't know. And I continued sleeping. So, and I had that for like half a year or something. And then at some point, it was just gone.
Huh.
I mean, maybe that was something, but I just explained it away by being like, maybe that's a bug or something. I don't
I mean,
know.
most people do that though. I feel like, I mean, like, for the most part, if you took away the spiritual side of us, I feel like most of us would do the same thing of like, oh, well, it's just the house being creaky or just whatever, which is usually like my first resort of like, it's usually something mundane, right? Like, I'm not going to resort immediately to if it's something spiritual unless I can't really figure out where the mundane piece is coming from. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, like, I don't feel like that's like that big of a deal, but I don't know. I am just so baffled that you've like never had to like deal with anything. That's so shocking to me. Um, but yeah, maybe it's just because I like I don't know. I'm always like talking to the wrong spirits, and I'm always pissing people off. I don't know what it is.
I,
Uh,
I I like I like to just think that I have like very supportive spirits around me,
oh,
or
I
like
love
very
that.
supportive deities. I don't know. I
I bet
like to
my
think
ancestors are
that.
like, ah, she'll figure it out. I'm like, you guys want to help me out? They're like, nah, it's fine.
Nah,
It's fine. That's so
you
funny.
need to learn.
Yeah, I know. That's literally, to be fair, I have straight up told my ancestors, I'm like, y'all, I'm stupid. Like, you can't like send me a sign. Like, you have to like spell it out for me. Like, I'm not gonna get it. Cause
I'm the same though.
well, because I'm
Uh,
gonna explain it away, right? Like how you just said of
yeah.
like if they're like sending me, I don't know, like keep seeing dimes everywhere, what I'm gonna be like, oh, it's just a coincidence. Like you have to spell it out for me.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
have to literally slap it in my face, or otherwise.
exactly.
Hell took that pretty seriously though, because like whenever she wants to say something, she will send me dead animals. Nice.
Yep. Yeah. You're so handsome.
Black cats are the cutest.
No, he's so needy. He's such a child.
Didn't hear that.
Such a child, huh? I know. Oh, okay. I think I've kept you for a yeah, I've kept you for a good amount of time and it's like late there and I feel bad.
It was
But
very fun though.
thank you. I know this was like a nice little like winter cozy chat. I feel like also I learned a lot and I had like a lot of really good information and like creative spell ideas. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to write down all of those ideas that we talked about with the snow because I feel like we just came up with some really good stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, but thank you for coming on the channel. If you do not follow Bente, then I will leave their links and everything. Oh, do you have a link tree or something like that?
Yes, I
Okay.
can send you that.
I'll leave your link tree down below. So if you want to follow Benta, just use that and you'll find them all over the place wherever they have any kind of social media. And yeah, the next time we chat, hopefully that will be either live, which sometimes I'll go, or next year when we have our trip together. And
That would be amazing.
yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. So again, that link is down below, but I will let you go and you can go to sleep and I'm gonna get ready for the rest of my evening. But thank you so much, Benta.
Thank you so much for having me. It was insanely fun.
Have a good one.
Bye bye.